we've just checked on our weather radar and expecting any meaningful rain over the course of the race. So let's put our minds at rest. So once again we pan over the paddock area and head towards the grid then. Cars in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell as in the Trofeo Pirelli as well. It's a rolling start. They will be led away by the Hublot safety car. Let's hear from Andrea Bertolini now.
Questa è la magnifica 488 Challenge. Oggi vi porterò a bordo per scoprire alcuni dettagli dell'ufficio dei piloti. Il sedile Saber, dove è stato migliorato il comfort, che per noi piloti vuol dire maggior concentrazione e prestazione. E grazie ai nuovi standard di sicurezza anche tutto l'avvolgimento e le protezioni per la testa. Tutta la scocca è completamente in carbonio, ridotto notevolmente il peso. Inoltre da questa base è stato sviluppato il nuovo sedile che debutterà nella prossima stagione del WEC, Campionato del Mondo Endurance. A completare il tutto le cinture di sicurezza ci permettono di farci sentire un tutt'uno con la vettura, così possiamo entrare in pista nel Ferrari Challenge.
So Andrea Bertolini then, our official Ferrari GT driver, explaining all about the safety belts inside the Ferrari Challenge cars. James Wayland going from pole position, Ingvar Madsen alongside. Ingvar Madsen, a Shell AM driver, looks splitting those Shell drivers. Tanny Hanna P3, von Skeltermar P4, Boris Gideon, good qualifying, P5. Then it's Christian Kinch going from P6 for Go Motorsport ahead of Eric Chung and Alex Fox. Then it's Agata Smolka, the lady racer, goes from P9 on the grid. Then it's Ernst Kirchmeier and Guy for Ken Abe ahead of Holger Hampson, Tommy Lindroth, Dusan Palkra, Laurent Demouse. Then it's Matthias Moser. And then we see Vibo going from P18, Miroslav Vibo ahead of Giuseppe Ramelli. Then it is Werner Genter and Mikhail Simonchik going from P21 on the grid. The cars are on their formation lap.
Hi, my name is Miroslav Ibok. I am from Slovakia. I have a passion to do racing, to do cars, so I decided to race this Ferrari Challenge. Now we are in Nürburgring. We totally enjoy the atmosphere. We like it, and I advise to everybody to see the race. Thank you very much.
Good advice there as well. Make sure you see the race. Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell cars on their formation lap, then weaving from side to side and trying to generate some temperature into those Pirelli tyres ahead of the start of the race. 5.148 kilometres the track here then, and they'll use every single piece of the tarmac they possibly can. As you can see, the rain appears to be coming down now. All the social media where you can be part of the Ferrari Challenge right at the top of the screen for you, and we would love you to be part of the Ferrari Challenge family. All the social media are available to you, as I mentioned, right at the top of the screen. So rain beginning to fall just a little bit. Just checked on the weather radar here in the studio, and we're not expecting any meaningful rain. But after saying that, we're on board with the Moser car, and you can see the raindrops on the windscreen of the car there. And providing it doesn't soak the track, then the track will dry very, very quickly indeed. But we think it is still coming down. There you can see the wiper being used by Eric Prinot driving the Hublot safety car. Then it's James Wayland, and then Ingvar Madsen and Tanny Hanna and von Skeltermar ahead of the 103 car of Boris Gideon. I mentioned very good qualifying from Boris Gideon, his first year in the Ferrari Challenge this year. They're doing a very good job. I had the privilege of speaking to him in a press conference yesterday, and it was good to chat to him, and really pleased with his results thus far in the Ferrari Challenge. Cars will grid up side by side behind the safety car, but it will be the responsibility of those two drivers on the front row of the grid, James Wayland and Ingvar Madsen, to control the pace of the rolling lap. So as they head towards the lighting gantry, the lights go green then, and the track surface may be just a little greasy in places. Tanny Hanna with a brilliant start. You can see he's already challenging James Wayland, and Ingvar Madsen being pushed back potentially to P5 here. There's contact on the back of the Christian Kinch car from, I think that was Ernst Kirchmayr in car number 109, who sort of rode the back of the Christian Kinch car. A couple of others have gone round, including, I think, Tommy Lindroth. Christian Kinch, you can see, just trying to recover now, whether there's damage on that car or not. But Ernst Kirchmayr rode over the back of the Christian Kinch car right at the start of the race, going into turn number 1. Holger Harmsen on the back of von Skeltermar, but it is James Wayland who's leading the race. And it's Tanny Hanna who is in P2. Von Skeltermar trying to get to the inside now, going into this turn, and just trying to get to the inside of the 103 car of Boris Gideon. So Boris Gideon in the all-yellow car. Then it is von Skeltermar. Holger Harmsen had a brilliant start, and he's moved up into challenging von Skeltermar, and we've got the safety car being brought out. Safety car is being brought out before even one lap is completed here at the Nürburgring. So the safety car will bring all the cars together, and there is Ernst Kirchmayr for Baron Motorsport then, and you can see him run down the outside, and we'll get a replay of that, I'm sure, and then connect with the Christian Kinch car. That means that, well, James Wayland, Tanny Hanna, Ingvar Madsen, who lost out on a place right at the start of the race. And here is von Skeltermar getting past the 103 car of Boris Gideon. But the cars are going to be picked up by the safety car. So they're running up towards the chicane now. And you can see with his hand out of the window there, Holger Harmsen telling everyone to slow down. Von Skeltermar doing exactly the right thing, giving that place back, because even though the safety car is not right in front of the cars, safety car conditions apply, and therefore von Skeltermar would have got past the 103 car behind the safety car effectively. So he's done the right thing and given that place back. There you can see the safety car board out and the yellow flag, and of course the safety car is out on track as well. There it is, and picking all those cars up then. And we can only assume that the safety car is brought about by the incident at turn number 1, and you can see quite a lot of debris. And Christian Kinch then trying to nurse that car back to the pit lane. He's got quite some distance to go, because he's now entering turn number 10 and climbing that 128 car up the hill. There you can see Björn Grossman from the Octane 126 team, a Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Pro driver, looking on. And Christian Kinch then with that stricken car is now making his way down the back straight behind the paddock here. As I say, trying to nurse that car back to the safety of the pit lane and get that wheel changed so that he can continue in the race. But whether he will be able to nurse it back or not, because lumps of rubber were beginning to flail off the car. Let's see the incident again. It was a... there you can see Ernst Kirchmayr beginning to make his move down the outside, and here is where he goes really, really wide. Tries to brake, gets onto the loose stuff, connects with Christian Kinch, and it's all over at that point for the Ernst Kirchmayr car, and I really rather suspect that the damage to the Christian Kinch car will be such that he will not be able to continue in the race either. He is trying to get it back to the pit lane, and he's just going through the chicane now. But it just, to me, looked like Ernst Kirchmayr was just a bit ambitious, and unfortunately the room wasn't there, and therefore he was out on the grass and the gravel, and at that point you become a passenger, of course. Well, there you can see, look, the cars are trying to drive through the debris that, in fairness, Christian Kinch has left littered all around the track as he's tried to bring the car back to the pit lane. Various bits of rubber and bodywork have fallen off that 128 car and have been left strewn on the track. And, well, you can see various bits of the Go Motorsport car then. Now, I suggest that under safety car, those bits are all going to have to be recovered before we can continue racing. As it was, the safety car having to really navigate through the narrow pieces of tarmac that were left available, avoiding the debris that was stricken right across the track. Now there you can see, being on board here, we're looking at the 145 car of Laurent Demouse, which is the car we can see through the windscreen. Incidentally, the start is under investigation. Now, we did see a penalty applied in the Trofeo Pirelli race where it was considered somebody had jumped the start, and they were penalised accordingly with the drive-through penalty. So the start is under investigation in this Coppa Shell race also. And well, you can see the engineers are standing by from the Rosso Corsa team. Christian Kinch has nursed the car back, but I rather think that the damage that has been sustained is going to be too much for that car to be back out again, because so much of the rear bodywork, I think, has been lost from the car. Matteo Babalus, driver coach there, trying to speak to Christian Kinch inside the car. So the order then behind the safety car: Wayland, Hannah, Madsen, Gideon, then it's Skeltermar and Holger Harmsen. With when you consider where Holger Harmsen started on the grid, he got the best of it. Ken Abe, then it's Agatha Smolker and Eric Chung, Alex Fox, Dusan Palker, Guy 4. And of course, we lost Ernst Kirschmeyer, who's out of the car, and the car was parked up against the barrier, so that will be going no further in the race. So I'm expecting this to be a fair period of time behind the safety car, because, as I say, I suspect they're going to have to clear up all that debris before they'll be prepared to be out, or be prepared to green flag the race once again. The clock continues to count down, of course, because the Ferrari Challenge races are by time rather than laps. It's a 30-minute race, and so they're heading down towards, and you can see Christian Kinch is out of the car, and the car will be going no further, and Babalus trying to explain exactly how it happened. Well, I think it's going to be a sizable time for the safety car to be out there. It's actually going to come in at the end of this lap. So well done to the marshalling team that have cleared everything up so very, very quickly. To be fair, they were fairly large lumps of debris to be got. So the safety car will come in at the conclusion of this lap, and they're heading now through turn number 8. So the first part of the Michael Schumacher S is then. Where you climb uphill, as you can see, on board with Tanny Hanna as we were. The lights are off on the safety car then, so that means that the safety car will be coming in. It will be down to Tanny Hanna then, who perhaps will try and anticipate when James Wayland's really going to go for it, and may feel that he has the opportunity to get past James Wayland. James Wayland, who's had a couple of wins this season in the European Ferrari Challenge, taking a win, of course, at Le Mans just the last time out for Ferrari Challenge, and also right at the season opener in Bahrain as well. Very, very extensive Ferrari Challenge racing experience, because we have 3 regions of the Ferrari Challenge: Europe, North America, Asia Pacific, and of course GB in the UK as well. So 4 regions of the Ferrari Challenge. There's still some debris out there that's just been picked up and knocked away by one of the cars. So James Wayland then gives it a footfall then as he heads towards the final turn, and no overtaking, of course, until they've crossed the safety car line. And Tanny Hanna is not close enough, I don't think, to be able to have a go in any event. So let's get the race resuming then. Some 9 minutes behind the safety car. James Wayland leading from Tanny Hanna. Then it is Ingvar Madsen, Boris Gideon is P4. Then it's Von Skeltermar, Holger Harmsen and Ken Abe occupying the top 7 positions as they go into turn number 1. And they make their way through the sequence of turns 1, 2 and 3. Holger Harmsen under some pressure perhaps from Ken Abe, who looked pretty close to him, to be honest. And Von Skeltermar then, who of course will have to try and overtake Boris Gideon. He had overtaken him, but that was under the safety car, so he had to give that place back. Well, he wasn't even told to give the place back. He actually did it, realizing that he had to do that. So Von Skeltermar then. Now, the incident involving cars number 109, Ernst Kirschmeyer, and car number 128, Christian Kinch, is under investigation. And there's confirmation of that on your screen. So, big fight going on here now for that P4 place in the race. overall, and that is between the yellow car of Boris Gideon and the red Shark's Teeth fronted car of von Skeltermaar. James Wayland stretching his legs by 1.1 seconds already over the Formula Racing driver Tanny Hanna, and von Skeltermaar right on the gearbox then, and runs just a little bit wide. That will have cost him a couple of valuable 100ths in terms of momentum. So Tanny Hanna then 1.168 seconds behind our race leader. So Boris Gideon, of course, in a completely different class to von Skeltermaar. The two drivers that you see, P1 and P2, James Wayland and Tanny Hanna, they're in the Shell class. Ingvar Madsen is in Shell AM, as is this man, Boris Gideon, in car number 103. Von Skeltermaar is a Shell driver and at the moment occupies the final podium place in terms of Shell, but he is being pressured by the Lueg Sportivo returning driver Holger Harmsen in the blue and white liveried car. So Holger Harmsen trying to track down the Shark's Teeth of von Skeltermaar. Boris Gideon, as you can see, is beginning to escape up the road. The reason for this is von Skeltermaar cannot focus too much on attacking Boris Gideon ahead of him. He's having to think about defending from Holger Harmsen. So von Skeltermaar in the 177 car, who was on the podium at Le Mans, is being pressured by Holger Harmsen. Holger Harmsen in turn has got Kenne behind him. Now the incident involving cars number 196 and 172 is under investigation as well. That's Giuseppe Ramelli and Mikhail Simonchik. They're under investigation. We didn't actually see that incident, but they are under investigation, and no further action is going to be taken for that particular incident, whatever it was. So now von Skeltermaar is beginning to reel Boris Gideon back in again. Boris Gideon driving for the Formula Racing team. Von Skeltermaar racing for Kessel, and Holger Harmsen for Lueg Sportivo. They're all chasing down the Scuderia Autoropa Ingvar Madsen driver. So there is James Wayland, who's had his lead cut just a little bit by Tanny Hanna. And Ingvar Madsen then, who is the fastest of the Shell AM drivers, but of course is P3 in the race overall. And at the top three, as you can see, having broken away by about 3 seconds from Boris Gideon, who's running in P4, but P2 in AM class. Battle for P1 then between James Wayland and Tanny Hanna, but Tanny Hanna is, despite the fact he'd closed the gap just a little bit, James Wayland seems to have the measure of it as he makes his way around the final turn, turn number 15 here at the Nürburgring. As I mentioned in the pre-show, we use the Grand Prix iteration of the circuit. Live gap between them then. Well, James Wayland has enlarged that gap between himself and Tanny Hanna. Heavy braking going into turn number 1. Perfect execution by James Wayland as he just clips the apex. Absolute perfect way of getting through turn number 1. Of course, he's leading from the front and doing a very good job here in car number 118. James Wayland leading from Tanny Hanna in P2. In the AM standings, it's Ingvar Madsen from Boris Gideon, then Alex Fox and Agata Smolka, Dusan Balkra, and Simonchik then running in P6. So extraordinarily, of course, we're almost at the halfway stage of this race. As just taking a look, and a really rather ambitious look at Agata Smolka there was Alex Fox. Just a little bit of contact made there, but these are the front-running cars of James Wayland and Tanny Hanna, making their way through turn number 7. And James Wayland, as the Rosso Corsa team have just engineered a seemingly perfect 488 car, because he looks really comfortable and really poised in this car. And Tanny Hanna doing everything he can to get on terms. I mean, the lap times are very, very close, but Tanny Hanna is marginally quicker. Von Skeltermaar, for the moment, has seen off the charge of Holger Harmsen, who, as you can see, is some 9/10 down on von Skeltermaar, as Cyril, his partner, looks on. And he, of course, was on the podium at Le Mans and would dearly love to be on the podium here in the Nürburgring as well, or at the Nürburgring as well. Half distance in the race then. The race has been punctuated by the safety car from the incident early on involving Christian Kinch and Ernst Kirschmeyer, as Holger Hansson throws that 488 car through the chicane. So really liking the livery on that car. I mean, what a fantastic canvas to have, a Ferrari 488, but the shark's teeth on the front of von Skeltermar's car means that that's under investigation, and that means that's one that's always photographed, and you can see now under investigation von Skeltermar and Tanny Hanna for contact. Again, that's not necessarily something we saw on camera. Dusan Balkra going through in the 117 car, and Dusan Balkra being chased by Guy 4. Two of the red cars absolutely together there, and again another inter-class battle. Battle for P4 is between Dusan Balkra and Agata Smolka, and Dusan Balkra trying to get on terms with Agata Smolka. The 120 car, a Shell driver, Guy 4, which is the second of those red cars, but there is Aggie Smolka then in the 186 car, who's lost out that podium position to Alex Fox, who did go through to pick up that P3 for Modena Motors. And James Wayland continuing to keep a seconds margin between himself and Tanny Hanna right at the front of the pack. At the moment in the hams, well, you can see Ingvar Madsen has got a huge margin over Boris Gideon. He's not going to be troubled by Boris Gideon, who's some 13 seconds behind him. So Ingvar Madsen out on his own, in his own race. Now the incident which brought out the safety car is going to be investigated after the race. Doubtless they'll want to speak to both Christian Kinch and Ernst Kirschmeyer. I have to say, from Christian's point of view, I think he was a completely innocent bystander and certainly didn't see it coming, but it not only compromised his race, but finished his race. So heading up towards the chicane now comes Alex Fox, who's right on Boris Gideon now, and we've already seen how Alex Fox is able to overtake, and he very nearly gets to the inside of Boris Gideon there. Alex Fox, having already got past Agata Smolka, he's got pace in that car, the number 134 car, really lapping in a very, very quick 2:05 time, and he is beginning to trouble Boris Gideon. So this is for P2 in the Shell AM class. These two cars running P2 and P3 currently. Boris Gideon in the all-yellow car and Alex Fox in the dark grey liveried machine. And the margin between the two of them, you can see over the last 3 laps how that has come down. Well, particularly between laps 6 and 7. It went from 1.1 to just 3 tenths between the two of them. So Alex Fox means business here, and Boris Gideon is going to have to defend for all his worth. And see, once Alex Fox got past the car of Agata Smolka, the pace advantage that he seems to have, and that he was able to get up the road and very soon be on the back of that car of Boris Gideon. Holger Hansson, Ken Abe have swapped places. Ken Abe getting himself ahead of Holger Hansson, who now has Eric Chung for company, and we know what a racer Eric Chung is in the number 198 car. He's chasing after Holger Hansson. So Ken Abe has already gone through. He's the first of those cars, that all-blue car, and now Holger Hansson will have to stick his elbows out to try and prevent Eric Chung from coming through. Holger Hansson driving for Luix Sportivo. Eric Chung, of course, for Formula Racing. Flashes his lights, tries to distract Holger Hansson just so that he makes the tiniest of errors and he can get alongside. And here comes Eric Chung now to the inside, and Holger Hansson's going to have to yield here, but Eric Chung carries too much speed and ends up on the grass. The exit of the chicane. So very clever driving there from Holger Hansson, who didn't defend that position in too aggressive a way, knowing that the speed that Eric Chung was carrying, he would never be able to scrub off and be able to take through the chicane. Fastest lap has come on lap 4 from James Wayland, a 2:04.895. Interestingly, Wayland is still lapping in the 2:05s, whereas Tanny Hanna's last lap was a 2:07. So he is extending his margin between himself and Tanny Hanna to very nearly 3 seconds, and that means that Tanny Hanna could be under pressure from Ingvar Madsen, although they're in different classes in the race result overall. So the incident that we didn't see between von Skeltmar and Tanny Hanna, there's no further action after the investigation. I can only imagine that was an incident right at the start of the race which we didn't pick up on because we were too busy watching Ernst Kirchmayr up the side of the Christian Kinch car. So for the moment, Boris Gideon in car number 103 is holding on to that P2 place in terms of Shell Am. Alex Fox is flashing his lights again in the hope of just distracting Boris Gideon for just for a second. That's all it would take for Alex Fox to be through, and that's where Boris Gideon just accelerates away and opens up just a couple of car lengths. So 3.5 seconds the gap between P1 and P2, as you can see. James Wayland and Tanny Hanna, and Ingvar Madsen is about a second further behind now, but Ingvar Madsen, of course, is leading Shell Am, although he's running P3 in the race overall. Under 9 minutes remaining. Ferrari challenge, Coppa Shell here at the Nürburgring, as once again the lights are flashed from Alex Fox. These two are running P8 and P9 in the race overall, and Eric Chung having another go at Holger Hansen now. He knows that where he tried it at the chicane last time around, it didn't work, but it's on the exit of turn number 14 where you begin to set yourself up for having a go going into turn number 1. So I wonder if that's Eric Chung's plan now, and that is to track the Holger Hansen car and make a dive potentially to the inside at turn number 1. Is he close enough to be able to do so? Well, that's precisely what he looks at doing then, and Holger Hansen very cleverly just closes the door and metaphorically says to Eric, if you want to come round, you're going to have to come round the long way, friend. And Eric was unable to do that. So through this technical section, Eric Chung is looking just a little bit neater and tidier perhaps than Holger Hansen. Holger Hansen defending, and Eric Chung then takes to the curbs and the grass a little bit to try and just get a little even closer to Holger Hansen in that Lee CG liveried car. So Hansen and Chung, this is a real ding-dong battle that's going on for P5 and P6 in the race overall. Alex Fox continuing to chase down Boris Gideon, and Holger Hansen having to focus on the rear view mirror and the door mirrors as Eric Chung comes charging. And to be fair, Holger Hansen is still in sight of Ken Abe as well, so he's right stuck in the middle here. He's hunting and being hunted at the same time. Ken Abe seems to be losing a bit of time here. That's allowing Holger Hansen to get a bit closer. 134 car of Alex Fox, and well, there is Holger Hansen and Eric Chung. The 103 car continues to head the Alex Fox car. Oh, and now Eric Chung has another go at Holger Hansen. He's through the speed trap, 254 kilometers per hour for Eric Chung. So to be fair, that wasn't the Ken Abe car that we saw Holger Hansen going by. So Ken Abe maintains his B5 position, and he's some 4.5 seconds up the road from Holger Hansen, so it wasn't Ken Abe that was slowing. I think that may have been Laurent Demouz or even Miroslav Weibo. But anyway, back to this battle that Holger Hansen is continuing to defend from Eric Chung, and right behind them, Boris Gideon continues to defend from the car of Alex Fox then, who's pushing really, really hard. And you can see Holger is beginning to push as well. Alex Fox takes a look at the inside of Boris Gideon going into that turn, but not able to make it stick. And we're kind of running out of time here because there's 5.5 minutes of this race remaining for these battles to be settled or secured. James Wayland is 4.5 seconds up the road in the lead of the race, so he's untroubled. Tanny Hanna has got about 1.5 seconds over Ingvar Madsen as well, who in turn is 5 seconds ahead of von Skeltermaar, and then Ken Abe is 4 seconds back. So they're all really rather spread out over the podium places. In terms of Coppa Shell, in terms of Shell Am, well, the fight is continuing between Boris Gideon and Alex Fox, of course. And as you can see, whatever Alex Fox has thrown at the Boris Gideon car ahead of him is he's not been fazed by it, and nor has Holger Hampson been, with everything that Eric Chung has thrown at him. So Eric Chung takes a look at the inside again, going into the chicane. But I rather think that and Alex Fox does the same on Boris Gideon. Now, interestingly, Eric Chung again loses so much momentum coming out of the chicane, and that means that he got very, very dirty tyres and very sideways around the final turn. So Holger Hampson, well, he's got another 4 minutes to hold on here. Eric Chung has done everything in terms of throwing everything at it, but around has gone Boris Gideon, and I thought I didn't see the 103 car in the picture. So Boris Gideon has dropped right down the order, and sure enough, there is the car that we saw earlier on. That's the Moose car, who has obviously got problems and is way down the back. Now, car number 196 is getting a time penalty. And that's basically for overtaking under the safety car. So a 25-second time penalty for Mikhail Simonchik, who, as you can see, is currently P5. Well, when it comes to the race classification, he isn't going to be in P5 because he's going to pick up a 25-second time penalty. And there he is, the 196 car in that all-white livery. So whilst all that was going on, quite a lot has happened. What hasn't happened is James Wayland hasn't released his grip on the lead of the race overall. He continues to maintain a 5-second margin. Now, this in replay was Eric Chung's second attempt at Holger Hampson at the chicane. It was clear he was never going to be able to make it. He flew across the tarmac, landed on the curbs and the grass, then shortcutted the chicane, took a couple of cones for good measure, and well, we're back to the leader of the race. The incident involving cars number 103 and 134 is under investigation. Now, hopefully we'll see that in replay, because that was obviously an incident between Boris Gideon and Alex Fox. We saw Boris Gideon turned around. So there is Tanny Hanna, who's in second place. He's a second up the road from Ingvar Madsen, which is actually almost academic, because Ingvar Madsen is in a completely different class. Critically, he is 4 or 5 seconds ahead of von Skeltermaar, who's his next opponent in class, if you like, who's in P3 at the moment. Tanny Hanna is pretty solid in that P2 place. And as I mentioned to you then, the incident involving cars 103 and 134 is under investigation. And that's Alex Fox and the car of Boris Gideon. And here it is then. No, this is Dusan Balkra and the 196 car of Simonchik, who already has got a penalty. James Wayland then continuing to lead. The replay that we've not seen, that we would have liked to have seen, was the situation with regards to Alex Fox and Boris Gideon, but always possible to capture absolutely everything. James Wayland is certainly capturing the success here at Nürburgring. Oh, and Tanny Hanna just kicking up a bit of dust on the exit of the chicane as he heads towards turn number... I thought they were at turn number 15, but that isn't the case. But Ingvar Madsen is getting closer to Tanny Hanna as they're into the chicane now. It's, as I say, it's academic because Ingvar Madsen is in a different class. So whilst these are P2 and P3, in the race overall. Actually, it's P2 and P1 because Ingvar Madsen is leading the class in terms of Shell Am. We're on the final lap now. One more lap James Wayland has got to do, and one more lap that Ingvar Madsen has got to do to secure the wins. So Ingvar Madsen then in the 199 car, who, to be fair to him, did all the hard work in qualifying, really qualified supremely well, put the car on pole position for his class, and whilst he got mugged a little bit at the start, it was kind of, it didn't matter, it was academic because it was all Shell drivers that were getting past him rather than his competitive Shell Am drivers, which of course is class honours is all important when it comes to the championship that you compete in. So Wayland from Hanna from von Skeltermar in terms of Shell, and then in terms of Am it's Madsen, Smolka P2 and Alex Fox who is P3. So whatever the incident was between Alex Fox and also Boris Gideon, it was obviously sufficient to allow Agata Smolka to come through to pick up that P2 place in terms of class. So James Wayland with just a few turns to do before heading into the chicane and the final turn, and Rosso Corsa are going to be a very happy bunch down there because they'll be taking a P1 with James Wayland in this car number 118, and of course they'll be taking a P2 in terms of Shell Am with Agata Smolka as well, assuming everything stays the way it is at the moment. So James Wayland heading up towards the chicane now, following the chicane. He will have one more turn to do. Here comes Ingvar Madsen's going to have a go at Tanny Hanna going into the chicane. If Tanny's got sense, he'll just let him go because it makes no difference. It's just the pride of where you finish on the track. Tanny Hanna beginning to have a go back at him now, though. Whilst all that is unfolding behind, James Wayland goes through the final turn, will head towards the checkered flag. This will be his third win of the season in Ferrari Challenge Europe. Well done, James Wayland. He takes P1. Ingvar Madsen is P2 on the road, but he's P1 for his class. Tanny Hanna is P2 in class. Von Skeltermar P3. Then it will be Ken Abe and Holger Hamsen and Eric Chung, we assume. Until we see them come round, there is Holger Hamsen, who, against all odds, held off Eric Chung, and he crosses the line. Eric Chung is just behind. It's P6 for Eric Chung. And then taking P2 for Coppa Shell Am, it's Agata Smolka, who is ahead of Alex Fox, and then Dusan Balkra. Because Semenchik is going to have to take a 25-second penalty. So this was damaging for Boris Gideon then, who does manage to finish the race, but getting lifted. Second car that's got lifted here. Boris Gideon then broken track control at the front of the car and must be vibrating like a good one. But James Wayland, to take nothing away from his success, looked poised, and a very, very good race for James Wayland, who not only takes the win, but takes the fastest lap as well. So Tanny Hanna very sensible at the end of the race and didn't fight too hard, Ingvar Madsen, because there was little point in truth. Because, of course, he is in a completely different category and classification, and therefore that would have been just asking for trouble. So Tanny Hanna P2 in terms of Shell, and P3 in terms of Shell is von Skeltermar back on the podium again. So we will, of course, bring you the complete order in due course. There is our P3 driver, von Skeltermar. And there, everyone standing by to welcome the drivers back. And there is, unfortunately, the Boris Gideon car, car number 103. Now, he had crossed the timing line, so his his P5 in terms of his class will stand. So the podium, as we get the top three in each category, then James Wayland, Tanny Hanna and Fons Skeltermark confirmed 1, 2, 3 in Shell. And in terms of AM, it's Ingvar Madsen, Agata Smolka and Alex Fox. All the information at races.ferrari.com. Races.ferrari.com. So James Wayland then for Rosso Corsa. And Ingvar Madsen. Now I hope on the podium we will see the famous Ingvar Madsen dance. I'm delighted with that. And Martin Nelson from Trofeo Pirelli congratulates him as well. And James is out of the car. So Ingvar Madsen then, congratulated by Christian Kinch. Christian Overgaard, I beg your pardon. Let's take a look at the highlights now of the Coppa Shell race. So the raindrops began to come down and the green flag went. Ernst Kirchmayr was on a flyer getting past, as you can see, but now he just gets the car out onto the grass, and that's enough for him to lose control and make contact with Christian Kinch. It would be the end of the race for car number 109, Ernst Kirchmayr, and regrettably it would be the end of the race for Christian Kinch as well, but not before he'd chucked a load of debris around the track, which brought out the safety car. And when the safety car came back in again, it would be James Wayland from Tanny Hanna and Ingvar Madsen, who qualified so well but had dropped at one place. Young superstar fans looking on to enjoy the race action. Agata Smolka then, who was attacked pretty aggressively by the 134 car of Alex Fox, but withstood that, and there was lots of fights and battles going on throughout the pack, particularly this one, which was really, really enjoyable. Eric Chung was having a go at Holger Harmsen, and every time he had a go at Holger Harmsen, he just was unable to make it stick. Christian Kinch relegated, of course, to watching the race from the monitors, as sadly he'd been a pretty innocent bystander in that crash early on, which brought out the safety car. Eric Chung was not done with having a go at Holger Harmsen, but this was a high-flying incident which was not going to work for him. And having a go at Dusan Palkram was the 196 car of Mikhail Simonjic, but James Wayland would take his win here at the Nürburgring ahead of Ingvar Madsen, and Holger Harmsen was delighted to be back as well. Celebrations all round then, and Fons Skeltermark pretty happy to be back on the podium again, as indeed he was at Le Mans. And full of emotion. So there, all the cars then, and we will be going up to see the podium ceremonies, both for the Coppa Shell drivers and the Coppa Shell AM drivers next. Bit of cloud around now, isn't there? And we saw some raindrops earlier on. Here's the confirmation of the classification then for Coppa Shell. James Wayland, Tanny Hanna, Fons Skeltermark, the top three. Ken Abe, Holger Harmsen, Eric Chung. Then it was Tommy Lindroth. Then it was Genter, 4, and Kinch, of course, not classified, losing out in the early stages. Well, the very earliest stages of the race, lap 1, to be honest. Super slow-mos then of the top three. Shell drivers, von Skeltermar for Kessel Racing takes P3. Taking P2, Danny Hanna in the 157 car for Formula Racing. And taking the win, James Wayland for Rosso Corsa. So here in the Drivers' Championship, Tanny Hanna on 118 points, Ernst Kirschmeyer on 92, James Wayland on 88, then it's von Skeltermar, Eric Chung, Ken Abe, Christian Kinch, Murad Kuhada-Ruglu, who's not here this weekend, Thomas Gosner also missing this weekend, and Tommy Lindreff rounding out the top 10 in terms of the Drivers' Championship for Coppa Shell. Keep your eyes on the championship at races.ferrari.com, of course. So the podium is being readied as we speak. No sign yet of the drivers making their way onto the podium, but not going to be many moments away. Of that you can be sure. And 2 podiums for the Shell drivers and also for the Shell Am drivers also. So a good shot there of the podium. And as always, good support for every driver that will appear on the podium. Great sense of camaraderie in the Ferrari Challenge. And I mentioned in the pre-show, good number of spectators to enjoy the action here on day one of racing in the Ferrari Challenge. There's von Skeltermar making his way to the 3rd step of the podium. There's Tanny Hanna. And to the top step of the podium, James Wayland. Also, Corsa as the team will, of course, be represented as well. And Tanny Hanna, of course, with his scarf. National anthem for James Wayland. And Andrea Bertolini, if I'm not mistaken, the official Ferrari GT driver, making the trophy presentation to von Skeltermar. Then, of course, to Tanny Hanna. And to James Wayland. Also, of course, to receive another trophy for their really rather magnificent trophy cabinet. And the drivers will all get together for the photograph. And then it will be time for the champagne to be uncorked. Fonz is quickest, I think. You'll note fleet of foot was Tanny Hanna escaping stage left. He'll be got for that, I don't doubt. So the Shell drivers podium done and dusted. Of course, the Shell Am drivers have their podium to come before we have to be fleet of foot as well to get out onto the podium for various production purposes as well. A race 1 classification in terms of Shell Am then. Ingvar Madsen, Agatha Smolka and Alex Fox then. taken the 1, 2, 3, and we will see those drivers on the podium ahead of Dusan Palkra and Boris Gideon and Matthias Moser, Giuseppe Romelli, Mikhail Simonjic, Miroslav Vibo and Laurent Demouse. Top 3 then in Super Slow-Mo, Alex Fox taking P3. P2 goes the way of Agata Smolka. Aggie chasing my limits. And P1 then to Ingvar Madsen. Now, I so hope he doesn't disappoint with regards to him appearing on the podium with his famed dance, which is perhaps not the most elegant of things, but I think the drivers are about to be brought out onto the podium. First of those will be Alex Fox. Sure enough, there is Alex. Here comes Aggie Smolka then. Right. Now, having built it all up, I just hope that he doesn't let us down here. Here he is. Yes, there it is. Oh, Ingvar, well done, sir. So the anthem plays out. And Andrea Bertolini once again called upon to make the trophy presentations. First of all to Alex Fox, and to Agata Smolka. And then the race winner's trophy, of course, to Ingvar Madsen. Love it. And Scuderia Autoropa also, of course, in receipt of trophies. So, time for the photographs. Aggie looking very happy up there. And then it's time for the champagne. And Aggie is the quickest. So there we have it then, a great Coppa Shell race. We'll please make sure you join us tomorrow for race number 2 from Nürburgring. For now, bye-bye.